In this video are my 5 tips on how to boost your confidence in a call center job interview. These tips should help you deal with your anxiety reasonably well while creating a great impression. My first tip is practice confident body language. And in the case of a call center job interview, I'm specifically talking about eye contact, smiling, and expansive body postures. Now, eye contact is super crucial in communication. It just helps you connect to your listener, which in this case is your interviewer. Let me just demonstrate. Okay, I'm going to talk to you, but I'm not going to make any eye contact. I'm not going to stare at the lens. What are you feeling? Do you feel disconnected? Do you feel like I'm talking to another person instead of to you? Because I am not making any eye contact and it's just weird. So you see how important eye contact is, how weird when it's not there. You might as well turn your back on your interviewer when you're not making eye contact. Now, smiling. I think it's pretty obvious what smiling can do, whether in a personal or professional setting. It just makes you look more confident, more approachable, and more trustworthy. And when you smile, it actually reflects in your voice as well. It's impossible to miss a smile over the phone. When a person on the other end of the line is smiling, you just know it. There's an added warmth to the voice. Also, did you know that when you smile, your brain releases specific hormones? These hormones are known as feel-good hormones, namely serotonin, dopamine, endorphins. They help fight off stress, which is exactly what you feel during an interview. It is natural that when we genuinely feel happy, we naturally smile. But the process could actually also work the other way around. Even if there's nothing to smile about and you try to smile, you would usually get this warm feeling inside you and you would feel better. That's the hormones doing their work. So don't underestimate the power of a smile. It will not only help you create a great impression, but also help you soothe your anxiety. Power posing or expansive body language basically means that instead of slouching like this, you sit straight and you take up more space than you would this. Don't sit like this, sit like this. See the difference there? The first pose looks like she's scared, like she's cowering. So it sends a message to the interviewer that she's having a hard time carrying and presenting herself. So that's not really a good impression. And what's interesting here, according to research, is like smiling, assuming expansive body postures can also alter your brain activities. So it's a research conducted by Amy Cuddy, Dana Carney, a social psychologist at Columbia University. So what they did was they asked 42 men and women to randomly hold high or low power poses. People in the high power pose group held poses such as putting their feet on a desk with their hands behind their heads or stretching their arms out wide as if winning a race. So that's basically a high power pose because you're taking up more space. And the people in a low power group held poses such as sitting in a chair with arms held close to the body with the hands folded or standing with arms and legs crossed tightly. Both groups held the poses for 2 minutes, and then Miss Cuddy and Miss Carney tested hormone levels of the study subjects. The researchers found that 2 minutes of high-power posing lowered the stress hormone cortisol and increased levels of testosterone. Testosterone being one of the hormones responsible for feeling confident. Also, all the subjects in the high power pose group said they felt powerful and in control after the pose. They also took more risks during the experiment. Lower power posing did the opposite. It raised cortisol levels and lowered testosterone levels. These low power posers also took fewer risks during the course of the experiment. So how do you make the most of this? So what I recommend when you're practicing your speaking skills is to look in front of a mirror, try to smile, try to make eye contact while you're talking, and try to assume a more expansive body posture. My second tip is to practice modulating your voice. We pay so much attention to our verbal ability, but we rarely pay attention to our voice, which is the instrument we're basically using to express our thoughts. When I say modulate your voice, this is something that you cannot just, if you don't know how to do right now, you cannot just magically know how to do within seconds. This is something that you have to practice, research. There's plenty of resources about it online. This is a technique that all singers basically employ. In Filipino, we usually refer to great singers as having a malamig na boses, or literally, I think, cold voice. If we translate that in English, I think that would be a deeply resonating voice, a resonant voice that is deep and clear. So what you essentially do is activate your diaphragm. Your diaphragm. As you exhale, you're not just activating your throat, but also your diaphragm. So as you're speaking, you're slowly compressing your diaphragm, and it's as if the air is coming from there. You're not just talking from your throat, from your vocal cords. You're getting the air deep from your diaphragm, if that makes sense. So what happens when you try to modulate your voice by activating your diaphragm is that your voice just resonates more deeply, more clearly, and it sounds more powerful. People who knows how to sing kind of do this instinctively. I don't know if that makes sense. But if you think that you need more practice on this, there's a lot of resources online on how to go about this. So I'm just letting you know that voice is one of the factors that make you more credible in the eyes of your interviewer. So that could very well help with your interview. And my third tip is to learn how to elaborate on your answers. What I mean by that is, if you are going to make a claim, you got to be able to support that claim, which is essentially what you're doing in a call center job interview. You're claiming something, and you want to be as credible as possible. So you want to be able to know how to expound, how to support your answer. For example, you're being asked, "Why should we hire you?" And you answer, "You should hire me because I never shy away from irate customers." What do you think you say next? You definitely should not leave it at that. You have to provide an explanation, a scenario supporting that you don't shy away from irate customers. And in this case, the applicant told a story. In my 2 years of experience as a waitress, I've dealt with all sorts of customers face to face, and not all of them were friendly. So in this case, she's telling a story supporting her main answer, which is that she never shies away from irate customers because of her experience in customer service. I think that job interviews in general are just you knowing how to elaborate on your answer. And for you to be able to do that, you have to practice thinking more deeply. Just remember that if you're going to claim something, you have to have some statement backing it up, whether in a form of a story or a reasoning. And tip number 4 is to watch native English speakers being interviewed and mimic them. And by that, I don't mean just the accent, but also their inflection, their intonation, and their overall enthusiasm. So what I want you to do is to think of someone, maybe one or two persons that you would want to emulate, someone that hopefully doesn't have a lot of fillers, because generally you don't want fillers in your speech. And it also doesn't have to be celebrities. You can try motivational speakers, politicians, psychologists, or any experts in their fields that you're also interested in. And just look for interview videos involving that person. And then you watch and then you try to mimic as closely as possible their way of speaking. One person that I so highly admire is Jordan Peterson. He's a Canadian psychologist, and he has a lot of ideas about psychology that I find so highly interesting. And so I listen to him on a daily basis, whether it's in shorts or in long form videos. I make it a point to listen to him. He's just so eloquent. He's just so articulate. And I don't know, if I can just emulate at least 1% of him, I think that would already be worth it. What I like about his content is his talking mainly about psychology, because that is his field, but it's also talking about other things like the current issues of the world. And I don't know if that's something that you wanna see and hear opinions about. His content might be something you want to watch. You know, when you have thoughts that frustrate you because you cannot express them in words, he's able to express in words. He's just so damn articulate, and I just so admire it.
Why are weak men such a problem? Well, weak people are a problem. And I don't mean physically weak. I mean cowardly, let's say, and deceitful, because I'm thinking it more in terms of moral weakness. Well, there's a variety of reasons. First of all, if you can't support your own weight, let's say, then someone else has to do it. And that's not good. And then if you don't pick a forthright and useful and noble pathway through life, then you'll become bitter and too hurt by the tragedy of existence. And then you tend to seek your revenge wherever you can get it. And that's not good. So it's a mistake on all fronts. It's not good for you. It's not good for your family. It's not good for the community. It's certainly not a good medium to long-term strategy, because life is very, very difficult and you have to be prepared for that.
He is an academic person, so, listening to him would probably be an overkill for a call center newbie. So if that is not your thing, that's fine. You can just search anyone without a lot of fillers and just listen to them and try to copy how they talk. Yeah, you can just be fine with, for example, Taylor Swift. That's fine too. But I think I'm just really making an excuse to talk about Jordan Peterson, so forgive me. And my last tip is 70% listening and speaking and 30% reading and writing. Let me explain. So for me, reading and writing have their own unique contribution when learning a language. Reading, for example, helps you encounter new words, new vocabularies that you would probably miss if you're listening or you're speaking real time. It gives you the luxury of time for your brain to retain the information, and that's very important. Writing specifically helps you compose well thought out ideas that you wouldn't probably be able to do if you're speaking real time. With writing, you have plenty of time to think about the right words, the most accurate descriptions. When you get used to it enough, you'll be able to use those same words when speaking. But the problem with reading and writing is they could hinder spontaneity, which is exactly what you're aiming when you want to be in a call center industry. When a customer is yelling at you over the phone and need an immediate answer, you can't just, you need spontaneity. You need to be able to express your thoughts real time, fast, impromptu. But if you're trying to improve your writing, you would be better served if you focus on reading and writing more. But then we're in a call center and we want to be more spontaneous as much as possible. In a call center, spontaneity is even probably more important than having 100% accurate grammar. So if you're a Filipino who's trying to get a job in the call center industry, you graduated high school, you graduated college, or you're an undergraduate, chances are you know a lot of English words, sufficient amount of English words. The problem is your spontaneity, how to string along coherent sentences real time, not by writing, because you have the luxury of time for that, but just speaking spontaneously, right away, pronto. So by listening, you're able to grasp the natural arrangements of words without having to be reminded of the grammar rules. You just instinctively acquire the ability to arrange the words and just speak them instantaneously without any second thought. But then listening will not get you anywhere without speaking. And by speaking, I mean mimicking as much as you can what you hear. Listening without speaking is probably going to be useless. Speaking will just cement what you learn by listening. It's helping your brain remember what listening sounds like and then translate that into speaking. And speaking just helps you know whether or not you're accurately copying what you're hearing. And when you're speaking, I recommend that you have a voice recorder with you to see if what you're listening is even remotely similar to what you're speaking. That would just give you a better gauge as to your progress of acquiring the language. So my plan for my next content is to create a video on how to listen well, listen effectively to learn a language, and then translating that into speaking. So I'm probably going to demonstrate to you what I think is the best way to learn a language by listening and speaking, and maybe also reading and writing, although I don't recommend you doing a lot of them. So again, 70% listening, then speaking, and 30% reading and writing. All right, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, consider subscribing and See you in my next video. Bye-bye.